Money, 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 money. That's right. Money. Y'all didn't know
Hey,
I can sing. Listen, if I'm talking about money, then you know I had to bring on my go-to person, my financial expert. And it's only appropriate because we know that April is National Financial Literacy Month. So, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, thank you for meeting me at happy hour. For those not in the know, I go by the name of Rashad Bowtie Mills. And this podcast was really created based on my own struggles with alcoholism. I was at somebody's happy hour every Friday at 5 p.m. And what better way to turn that around than to drop quality content every Friday at 5 a.m. Content that people need that can really help them get to the next level in their life. So I'm happy to bring on number one, incredible sister. She is my sister. Y'all can't have her. She's all mine, right? I'm gonna be very selfish. She loves the Lord. That's another attractive fact. And she has been able to help me through some very difficult situations in my life because she's helped me be prepared for those situations from a financial perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and welcome to Happy Hour, my people, Andrea, AJ, Money Coach Jackson. Woo, what's up?
woo. Thank you so much for that automatic, awesome intro. I'm just going to bring you everywhere that I go so you can intro me that way. And especially with my jam, but you forgot the best part. The best part is the first 2 seconds.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That bass is like, I just keep going backwards for that one. Like, again.
Listen, you can put me on Primerica's staff. It's like you're just permanent hype man.
Okay.
Permanent hype man. So, Andrea, thank you again so much for your time. I know you're very busy and I want to be respectful of your time. Let's go ahead and jump into it again. April is identified as National Financial Literacy Month. From the work that you do, kind of tell people what Primerica is as an organization and some of the work that you do in terms of helping people with their finances.
Okay, well, super excited again about having the opportunity to be on your show. So thank you so much. I love your story. I love how you took something that the enemy thought was going to be for your destruction and you turned it around for good. And even the play on words, the name Happy Hour, I think is absolutely awesome. So thank you again for allowing me to be on your show. And so one thing about our company is we're the largest financial services marketing organization in all of North America. And so that means that includes all of Canada, Guam, Puerto Rico, all 50 states. And so we have more licensed agents in the financial services arena than any company that you could put together. So the other companies that people think about when they think financial services, you put them all together and we have more agents. We have over 130,000 licensed agents. Wow. We have the most security, so investment licensed agents in the entire country. Plus, when it comes from a minority space, we have the most six-figure African-American and Hispanic earners in the history of the world. And so at the end of the day, all of that exists because we deal with financial services. We've been in business since 1977. So we have a proven track record, a proven history of success. And I count it all joy as an honor and a privilege to be able to market for them, because what I do know is that with the licenses that I have, that I've taken tests to achieve and to get, I can take those licenses and work anywhere. And so, at a basic level, I may even get more comp if I work somewhere else. But the reason why I will never, ever leave is because in this particular company, they reach out to the people that look like me, the ones that did not understand finances, the people that had no idea that I could be saving with $50 a month, no people that didn't understand, the power of compounding interest, or even the what's right. What do you have the right type of life insurance? See, when we educate, then we implement. And there's no other company like that. They push products. We but we sell education and implementation. And so again, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to be a broker in that company. And so, it's a wonderful space.
So you said something very critical already. You said people that look like you. And I want to ask you this question. Why do you think that there is and has been historically a barrier with people of color being well prepared as it relates to financial emergencies?
Well, two things. So first of all, when I said look like me, I didn't even necessarily just mean my color, mean being African American. I meant they exist in this middle income America that holds up the economy, and so that spans all colors, all races, all creeds. There's a group of people who are, we have the largest number of working poor citizens in any country. That means they get up and they go to work every day and they're still poor. And so you got these group, they live below the poverty line. And so there's a group of people that are right above the poverty line, living paycheck to paycheck. That's those people. But in relationship directly to what you said, as a community as a whole, people of color in this country have challenges from a historical space. You can go way, way back as to why we have challenges with saving. And every time I have an opportunity, I share this because when I heard it, it blew my mind. And if you ever go to the African American Museum, you'll see one of them, the Smithsonian in DC, back in slavery times, after the slaves were actually set free. So even after June 19th, the issue was that the reason why they gave them 40 acres and a mule, or promised 40 acres and a mule, was because you still had to have a way to generate income. You were leaving slavery. You had no money. You didn't have anything but your hands. But if I don't have any land to work, if I don't have any stuff to sell, how am I going to still live? Well, how that happened is then they had to come back to the plantation owners and say, well, I'll work for you. So they said, okay, well, you can work for us. This is where you get sharecroppers. I'll work for you. So when they would work for them, how they would pay them in something called a chit. So a chit, spelled CHIT, was simply a piece of paper, and they would give them the piece of paper. So Rashad, that piece of paper said, let's say it paid them $5. You have $5 and it has to be spent by Friday. So regardless of whether or not you needed anything, you would run off and go spend that $5, which from a mentality space, and that may seem small, but you think about it. Why do people get paid Friday and then they're broke by Saturday morning? Because they're spending. Even if after they finish paying their bills, they still gonna go out and eat, go out and do something, because it's an indoctrination of I gotta spend. And it literally goes back years, because if you did not go spend that $5, it didn't carry over. It was gone. So you had to spend that money. So that not only created wasteful spending, it created the ability not to save. You didn't think about saving. That had no value. You thought about spending. And so now you look forward 300 years later, we still hold that. Like we have a challenge with saving. I got to spend. I need to buy this. I need to have that. And so I believe we're getting better because there's more active programs like this that's reaching out and saying, hey, look, we have to get better as a society so that you and me both have children, so that our children do better. Because people do not do what you say. They do what you do. So they're watching you. How many times do you go to that ATM? How many times are your children watching you spend? If you ever want to see yourself, look at your children. They will give you a really clear vision of who you are, even if you don't like it.
Andre, that was really profound, and I've never heard of that. So this concept of just spending, this really goes back to slavery and post-slavery, and it's just been, unfortunately, I guess, just finding itself through different generations. Absolutely. Is this curse about a lot of people of color being economically impoverished? Is it like do you think this is a generational curse?
Well, from the impoverished state, because I do not want to pass over the systematic part. There's a systematic problem in this country when it comes to people of color. When you have articles that go up about people who literally, I don't know if the term now is they whitewash their house. But for the most part, they make the appraiser think that there's a white couple living in the house so that their house can appraise for more. See, there's a systematic problem. Redlining is real. When they clump certain communities together and the values drop in that community. I have a very close friend of mine who that teaches credit. And he always talks about there's certain areas that you don't want to live in. If you do, you need to go to the post office and get a P.O. box because your credit rating will drop. Any area that has heights on the back. Your credit score will drop by at least 100 points. Why? Redlining. So there's systematic reasons why a community will stay impoverished. But education and implementation is how we get out of it. And from a generational space, we have to, again, make sure that we're having these conversations with our spouses, with our families. And that's one of the reasons why we do family meetings. We pull families together and we meet and we talk about, their grandparents have money, but the grandparents say, you can't have the money that I accumulated unless you sit through this meeting and I know that you've been equipped to deal with it. Even if it's life insurance beneficiaries, I need to know that when I pass away, I'm leaving you 6 figures, 7 figures of money. You don't know how to manage 3. So you don't know how to manage $100. I definitely not leaving you $1 million until I know you know how to manage it. So we have to be very deliberate and very intentional and making sure that we are educating not just our children, but ourselves so that we can do the right things. They can see that, and that becomes what's normal for them.
Got you. So here's a loaded $1 million question I'm going to throw to you, Andrea. When Primerica, you go into an individual's home, what is the first step, I guess the foundational point that you guys begin to try to teach someone financial literacy? Is there just like one place that you start at?
Absolutely. So one of the things is we're going to first gather information, find out what they're interested in, but there's a core space in which the company was founded. So it was founded on buy term and invest the difference. Well, why was it founded on that? Because when you think about those two concepts, so buying term insurance, and so it was founded on that because you can get more bang for your buck with term insurance. At the end of the day, it is just pure insurance, got no bells, got no whistles, but it gives you what you need for a period of time that you can extend. And if you would like, but the thing is, why do we start there? Because I can show you how to get out of debt. I can show you how to retire in decency and order. I can even show you how to put yourself in a position that you are paying the best rate for your car insurance, for your home insurance or whatever. But what I can't do is promise you tomorrow. So if you were to fall off the face of this earth, just like we have seen instances upon instances in the last 2 weeks, every single day of these insane people just taking lives. If that was you, what does your very last love letter to your family say? Like, what does it say? The last love letter is that life insurance policy. Does your last love letter say the car note was more important? The cell phone was more important. Me partying was more important because I didn't have $30, $40, $50 a month. I didn't have $100 a month to put away. Was, today, and I'm not shouting it out, but it is what it is. Today is 420. Some of your listeners going to know what that means. So was that more important to you than your children and your beneficiaries, because you would not set aside $100 a month to ensure their future, but you made sure that you did that. And so the thing is, we have to be, again, back to that word, intentional. So when I walk in that house, I start in that space because I need to make sure that the areas that I can't control, the next one would be an emergency. If an emergency happens, are you saving money on a regular basis? You talked about in your intro, being prepared. An emergency happened. Nobody could have foresaw what happened to you. But because we have put some stuff in place, there was a way for you to get your hands on some money. Are you preparing for emergencies? And be very clear. There is a difference between a holding account and a savings account. A holding account is where you put some money at during the month, and then when you need it, you go use it. That's not a savings account. A savings account should be compounding. One of the reasons why I invest and I put it in mutual funds, because it makes it not readily accessible. And get to it with an ATM card. Takes 2 days to drop back in your bank account. So you'll think twice before having to pull the money out. It's an actual real emergency if you need it. But we want to make sure that folks are also getting a decent interest rate, because money is the only thing that works all day, every day. And just because the banks are giving 3% now, please don't get confused. They're giving 3% as a direct relationship to rising interest rates by the Federal Reserve and rising inflation. When that comes back down, they'll be back to giving you 0% on your money. And so again, understanding those concepts and saying, okay, I can't control when an emergency is going to happen, so I need to save. I can't control when I'm going to die, so I need to make sure if I die too early, my family is fine. If I live long, my family is fine, because I'm taking care of those two foundational spaces.
Yeah, Andre, I want to go back to something for the people that are listening to Meet Me at Happy Hour and decided to have met us here at this happy hour. I want to reiterate that it is incredibly important to have savings for emergencies. Without going into, in great detail, I know from working with you, there have been about 2 or 3 instances in life where it was, whoa, what is happening here? And because I had a few bucks in savings, it made the difference of that situation being traumatically worse or more manageable. So I think it's incredibly important to actually talk about that. I want to just change gears just a little bit. One of the things that I said in the intro is that I'm just attracted to you as my friend and certainly as my financial advisor, but you love God. And I found out this yesterday, that 11 out of the 39 parables, Jesus talks about money. And I think Lisa talks about this as well. 15% of his preaching is on money, and money is mentioned in more than 2,000 verses in the Bible. I guess I want to get your thoughts on that, because I know that you are, and this is going to usher us into talking about stewardship as well. What are your thoughts on explaining that to people, that being financially, I guess, prepared and aware was a big thing for Jesus?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, look, in God's infinite wisdom, he understood that I have to catch them with a tangible thing. In a perfect world, they would just be sold out to me and that's it. Mm-hmm. But he understands that we are distracted and we're tempted by things. And so one of our temptations is money. But if I don't know how to manage that, and you're absolutely right, in over 2,000 spaces, he's talking about money. So that tells you right there the importance. Like you said, most of the parables have to do with money, because I have to capture you where you are. And in using those things, like using these parables, using these scriptures, I am literally honing in, because the word of God says, I know where your treasure is, or I know where your heart is based on where your treasure is. And so in teaching a stewardship class that I do for Reed Temple twice a year, it's an 8-week course that I teach. I always tell people, if you want to know what you really love, go look at your bank account. It'll tell you, because where your treasure lies is where your heart lies. And so if you have, for those of my people that say, well, I love the Lord, I love the Lord, and I go and I look at your bank statement and you love the Lord so much to the tune of $20, but you love food to the tune of $1,000. No, you love food. And so where your treasure lies is where your heart is. And so God has to address that. And he does that over and over and over to get us to understand that your treasure needs to lie with him, but you still need money. It's a resource. Money is nothing but a resource. If I'm like a super duper nerd. So if you go back years ago, is it Brazil, Venezuela? I'm not that. So I got to take off one of my supers, because I forgot which one of those South American countries, but they actually, their dollar was worth nothing. And so we don't have to go there. We can just go to Puerto Rico when Maria hit. So when Maria hit, or even Katrina, when Maria hit in Puerto Rico, the thing that they needed was water and electricity. So it didn't matter how much money you had, they needed water and electricity, and water to live. So now water became the exchange. It became what they bartered. It became what they used, because it doesn't matter if you got $1 million if you don't have any water. And so they needed water. So money is simply a resource. Our resource is dollars and cents, but it's just a resource. But God understands that resource is huge, because it will determine literally what do you care about. And so he talks about it over and over and over again, to try to get people to think they care about the right things, not the left.
Somebody's listening. They decided to meet us at happy hour, and they asking the question, hey, Andrea, you know what? You're giving out this great practical information about how to be more financially aware, to be financially literate. But within the same breath, hey, you're teaching the stewardship class. If I don't have the money to live, how do I have the money? And you're shaking your head, so you know where I'm going. How do I have the money to tithe? How would you respond to that?
Oh, that's like my favorite. I think, so let me give her props or shout out. So Dr. Jones actually came up with the series. It's called Stewardship, the Other 90%. So we do it at various churches across the country, not just in our area. But it was absolutely phenomenal the way she came up with it, and it ties in the Word of God. And so it's taught by people who have a firm understanding of the Word and finances. So it brings together faith and finance. But I love that question because one of the sessions, mine is an 8-week session that I teach. So one of the weeks we deal with money management and budgeting of money. And so what are the like old school homework? I won't allow them to use cell phones. They can't use like what is it called? Any type of app or software that tracks money. They have to have a piece of paper. I will only allow them to use a cell phone if they're using their notes section. And so for 1 week, so from the end of class to the beginning of the next class, my students have to track every way they spend money, and except for paying bills. I'm not concerned about how you pay your bills. I want you to start tracking how you spend money daily. What happens is we're not keenly aware of the fact that the average person in this country wastes $200 to $500 a month. With the pandemic, it went up because folks was buying stuff off Amazon and still are. But statistically, they waste $200 to $500 a month. They don't see it because it's not going out as $200. It's not going out as $500. It's going out as $5 at Starbucks every day. So if you go to Starbucks every day, 7 days a week, and the cheapest thing, let's say you got the $5 one, $35 a week, 35 times 4 is $140. So that's $140 that you're spending on coffee. You ain't even added a piece of banana nut bread. That's just your coffee. And so I have people, again, I live close to the District of Columbia. A lot of government workers are my clients. They go to work, they eat downtown, they eat lunch, they eat breakfast, they eat dinner. They're dropping $30 a day. Well, 30 times 7, 5 days a week is 150. That's what? 150, 150, 150, $600 a month eating out.
Wow.
So it's never that people don't have money. It's what you're choosing to do with money. If you pay God first, then you pay everything else. You'll be amazed at how it can happen. And what I mean by that is people I love when folks say, facetiously so though, God knows my heart, because I'm gonna pay him last in this scenario. And they'll be like, I don't have the 10%, but you do. You pay your cell phone bill without fail, but you do. You're gonna pay for that internet without fail, because you do. And the cell phone, the internet, the Amazon, the food, none of that sustains you. That's not what wakes you up every day. That's not what gives you life. But even in that, I tell people, it's not my job to guilt you. I just give you the facts of what the Word of God says, the basic instructions before leaving this earth. What does this Bible say in regards to the 10%? I tell them in the class, Jewish people tithe 27% of their income. What do people say about Jewish people? Oh, they always got money. They always got. And even if you take it away, let's just take it away from religion, because at the end of the day, it's simply it's a principle of seed, time, harvest. Wealthy people, Bill Gates, Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos. Well, no, Jeff Bezos is not giving away his money. Warren Buffett. These people give away over 90% of their wealth a year, and they can't stop the money, because it's what you sow, you shall reap. And so it's really, I tell people, that is the hidden gem to wealth, meaning GEM. Folks are so, how do I accumulate wealth? How do I accumulate wealth? Give away more. One thing I love about Dr. Jones is the way she gives, right? So she's always giving. She gives of her heart. She gives of her talent. She gives of her time. She gives of her treasure. And I've had the beauty to be like up close and personal, just being totally transparent. When I came into this business in 2002, I was not a giver. I'm the baby. I was a great receiver, Rashad. I had people give it to me every which way but loose.
Giving wasn't your talent, right?
Man, I had the little arms. We would go to dinner and I would sit there because, she would expose me to these wealthy people. I'll sit there waiting to see which one I'm going to pay. Like, y'all wealthy, what I got to pay for? And so, I'm a great receiver. I'm funny, so they pay for me. But then I started watching her and I was like, oh, there's something to this. Mm-hmm. And then when I started giving, like it got to the point where I couldn't even quench that thirst anymore. And I watched God turn my life around because those who give are never without. I've never met a giver that had problems in somebody stepping up for them or having money when they needed it, because God it's a principle.
You can't outgive God.
I guess, right, exactly. And even if that's why I even take it out of a spiritual space, because folks will say, well, this person's not saved, right? Because it's a spiritual and a physical principle. Seed, time, harvest, period. What are you sowing? When is the last time? What happens is that people are like, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. Well, I don't have any money. When the last time you gave? Because you do have. I gave one of the things I did for Christmas is that I gave, you give them the Christmas gifts, but I gave each one of my daughters a certain amount of dollar bills. And I said, take these dollar bills, you choose how you choose to give it away, but keep it with you at all times. Give it to whoever you see fit to give it to. But I want you to give it away. And I keep the same things. Like I keep dollars in my car. So when I roll up, this is how I just choose to give it away. If I roll up to an intersection, I see somebody, it's not about me trying to figure out whether or not they need it. That's not what God tasked me to do. So if I see somebody, I got my little stash, I pull it out, I give it, and I keep it because we tend to not have cash. So I make sure I keep that cash in there. And I wanted them to get that principle of giving because it's so huge. It is so big. And so people, if they could catch that, God don't need our money, Rashad. He don't need it. The church was there before you got there. So your tithe is not making or breaking the church. As with most of the stuff in the word of the God, or everything in the word of God, is to benefit us. But he knows that he has to capture our heart. And so what do you care more about? Again, I challenge anybody. People have money. They just choose to spend it on other things instead of paying God first. And if you're not convicted, there's nothing I can do about that. And that ain't my job. I'm just supposed to lay out the principles. You do what you want to with them. But so, that's in mind. We tired.
Joining us, Andre, you're talking about Dr. Jones, Dr. Lisa M. Jones. Yes. And let me just say this before I transition. I have another question for you. I can literally attest to exactly what you're talking about. And not only have I witnessed it, the giving from Lisa to other people, I've been a recipient of it. Lisa had an event. Why did it just slip my mind? One of the big events where,
Extreme Makeover.
Extreme Makeover. And at the time I was into actually selling bow ties. And I literally remember I was about to leave and I still had about 15 bow ties. And Lisa, her friend, I think it's his name, William. Hopefully.
William.
Do you remember the name? I think she said, William, go over and see how many bow ties Rashad has left. I said about 15, and I'm in the process of packing up. I'm still in this natural high, having an opportunity to speak to some amazing event, amazing people. And Lisa said how much for each bow tie. I kind of told her, and she cut a check. And I said, hey, what is this for? And she said, hey, I want all of my people to go home without any product.
Amen.
And it was just like, I jumped in my car and I was like, wow. And I've watched her spirit continually at work in terms of giving. I want to go back to a question because I know a lot of people are listening to this and they said, well, Andrea, you must have always had a great relationship with money. I am very curious. What was your relationship with money? And then for you, what was sort of the catalyst that got you in the field of finances to be where you are today? I'm very curious about that.
I had a horrible relationship. When and actually my agent was Lisa. And so
I never knew that. I never knew
yeah,
that.
so she is actually my cousin by marriage. So what like we affectionately call the ex-husbands husbands. So my husband is her second cousin, and so they have a huge family. And so I used to just refer to that group as the Baltimore people. Like, it's so many of them, you really can't remember people's names. And so that was like the Baltimore people. And so we were at a family reunion. She walked up to me, she said, hey, I don't know if you know me, introduced herself, say, I love to have an opportunity to share what I do in the area of finances. I said, sure. So she came over our house, she shared what she did, and she blew our minds because we wasn't doing none of that stuff. And so we had the wrong type of life insurance. We weren't saving for our children's education. Matter of fact, my grandmother, this is what, what good hearts, what grandparents do. As soon as we bought a house, first thing my grandmother said is, you need some life insurance. Call this company, call this woman. She's going to come over. I had a house. He had a child. That woman gave me $50,000, gave him $50,000, and no coverage on a child. What she asked us is how much we could afford, and made a solution based on how much we could afford. Dr. Lisa comes in our house. She gives us 5 times what that woman gave us for the same amount of money. And then said, okay, now you got a child and y'all have a savings issue. Y'all need to start saving. So then she started teaching us. So I was her client for 2 years. And then I said, okay, I need to make additional income in our household. We had a shortfall with things we wanted to do, but I could not go get a job. And so because I had 3 kids to raise, and a husband and a house and a job, full-time job, have no time for a part-time job. So that was perfect. But in that process is when I learned about money, Rashad. After I met her, like whatever you name, I did it wrong. I had the bad credit score, like the 400 kind. I had the repoed car. I had the bankruptcy. I had why? Because bad news travels fast. It travels at lightning speed now because it be on TikTok and IG. But bad news travels fast. So somebody always tell you about, oh, just go file for bankruptcy. So they didn't tell us about the repercussions of filing for bankruptcy, nor for the fact that we hadn't changed or fixed any of our habits. So because of that, we filed for bankruptcy and was in debt immediately, less than a year later. Everything that we had like accumulated all back because we didn't get rid of our bad habits. And so I came from a space of not knowing anything about money. And I marvel at the fact you couldn't have paid me $1 million and tell me I would be a broker in financial services. That's how bad it was.
You were so far from that at some point, I would imagine.
Oh, amen. No, but that's what over the time I learned. So in that 2 years with her before I became an agent, she taught me so much. That's the other reason why it made sense. I was like, I can show people the same thing you're showing me. And thank you for that, Rashad, because I don't want them to walk away thinking I'm still the same interesting individual. So I'm delivered from all that because not only did I learn, I implemented what I learned. Not only did I implement what I learned, I told other people. Not only did I tell other people, I went on a hunt and a crusade to be able to tell as many people as possible because it's important. Because we perish for lack of knowledge. And that means in our finances as well. And so I definitely came from a space, even down to, not ran the marriage ministry, but they would have me come and speak in the marriage ministry about money, marriage and money. But this how funny God is. I'm divorced. So the divorced person speaking to the married people about marriage and money. And so, but the point is, principles are principles. They can be taught because they can be learned, but not just learned, they must be applied. And when they're not applied is when the problem happens. But again, no. I learned, then I applied what I learned. And I've delivered from all that nastiness, but it was a hot mess.
What was the biggest piece of advice as you were going on your journey? Because I absolutely want people to kind of be able to take, hey, Andrea wasn't there, and now she's in a much different space. And I want you to share, what was the biggest piece of sort of learning material that Lisa gave you that you want to share with people that really set you to ascension on your financial literacy journey?
Stop starting to start. We're like the biggest procrastinators ever. And so, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I'm gonna do that next week. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And then a year has passed, 2 years have passed, 3 years ago. Accountability was so key. See, this is what we bring to our clients. This is the difference between me and a 1-800 number. I am an accountability partner. So as a money coach, I keep people accountable to what they tell me. So with that being said, when she put a program in place, she said, now start it. And so then she said, okay, now that you started that, now start this. And then she came back and said, okay, well, you're here. So now this is where we said we wanted to get to. So now these are the adjustments I need you to make. Accountability is everything. But having to make that first step came from me being accountable to her, because folks say, well, some of the stuff that she is saying is you can get online. And so you can get online and you can do these things and you can have this stuff. And yeah, but who's holding you accountable? So that accountability is absolutely amazing. And that's what's so key. But that bit of advice, like start and then be held accountable in every area of your life. And finances is one of them.
Got you. I want to throw this statistic at you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Actually, I'll ask this in the form of sort of a quiz. What is the percentage of Americans that you think that are living check to check? What would you say that is? The percentage of Americans that are living check to check?
2/3. And I know that because it is that's a statistic that is everywhere.
Yeah.
So 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
You're right there. This is a 64%, which is like, here's something that's interesting. What are your thoughts on this one? How many people do you think that are living check to check that make between $100K and $199,000 a year?
Statistically, I would say 80%.
It's about 16% of adults that make between $100K and $199,000.
Let me tell you why I don't agree with that. I don't. I only can go by the people that I talk to. But first reason why I don't agree with that is because they're polling employees.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? That means when they tell you that you make that amount of money, you don't even see it.
That's a great point. And
so, but what's the problem? If I asked you right now, you're a contractor, so you only gonna say what you make. But if I talk to an employee and I say, how much money do you make? They'll shoot out 120, 150,000. And I said, wait a minute, you make $150,000 a year? Yes. Well, when I just asked you how much money drops in your bank account, you told me $9,000. So if $9,000 drops into your bank account every month, I want you to multiply 9,000 by 12 and tell me what that number is. And so just know that it's not 150,000. But here's the problem. You live like you make 150,000 because that's what you tell yourself every day. When you go apply for that house, they ask you for the 150. They don't ask you for the net. So your mortgage is based on money that you don't even see. So the reason why I know probably 80% of those people live paycheck to paycheck, because if you took 2 paychecks away, they'd be homeless. They can't pay their mortgage. They don't have the savings. It doesn't line up. If 65 or 60, I think it's 60, if 60% of the people in this country can't get their hands on $1,000, then how is it that only 16% of the people in that group are living paycheck to paycheck? Impossible.
Wow.
No, everyone does it. People just have bad spending habits.
Those are really like startling statistics, and it's actually really scary. It's really scary. And what you just said, that if you took away 2 checks, that people would be homeless. And, for me as a therapist, I'm always thinking about the state of mental health. And I know that a lot of clients that I see, a lot of the mental health challenges that they have, whether they express it or not in session, it's financially related. That keeps, that keeps most people up at night. So it's really, really frightening. So we're toward the end of the show. Andrea Jackson, aka the Money Coach, Primerica rep. You have dropped so much information, if people are interested in contacting you because they want you to work with them on a one-on-one basis, or they're interested in seeing what Primerica has to offer them from a business perspective as well, so they can make extra income, what are the ways that people can actually contact you?
So they can contact me a couple of ways. So I have a website called AndreaLawan.com. And so when you go to that particular website, just go down to the contact sheet, you fill out the contact sheet, and you're able to, and then I will get back to you in 24 hours. The other way that you can contact me, and this is best whenever I'm doing any type of public forum, is that you can actually email me. And so you can email me. This one is an interesting email, but I try to keep it all together. But you can email me at Andrea Lawan Associates. It's one word. ANDRE. It's funny because we have the same middle name, but yours is spelled different. Mine is LEWAN. So Andrea Lawan Associates at gmail.com. And so that way you're able to get in touch with me. And although I get in trouble for this all the time, but it's just weighing heavy on my heart because I feel like somebody's going to need to get in touch with me, and it's going to need to be a little faster than the email space. They can reach me on 301-633-8688. And I was told to stop giving out my personal number, but I can't get past that. They have this feature, and like you could block people. I don't know what that's like. It's not difficult. If somebody crazy called me, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, thank you for your time. Block. I'll never hear from that person again." So, but I was told that that's not safe. But anyway,
Got you. So Andrea Lawan, LEWAN Associates at gmail.com.
Yes.
Gotcha. I will make sure that when this is actually aired, people will have access to get in contact with you, because again, you dropped some very valuable information to all of us. So again, thank you so much for meeting me at Happy Hour, dropping knowledge to the people. And just a quick quiz question. We have these healthy, friendly banter about ice cream, and chocolate. Because what is your favorite kind of ice cream? What's the Andre? If you had $1 million and I got to invest in this flavor, what is that flavor for you? Now, this means a lot because I'm a connoisseur of sweets.
It don't even get that deep. Vanilla.
It's serious?
Yes. It don't have to be nothing special, because ice cream serves as a base. It's going to be surrounded by brownies and chocolate fudge.
Okay,
so it just needs to be what it is.
Okay.
Vanilla.
I like the way that you cleaned that up, because you just said vanilla, and my heart dropped. It was no dough, no swirl, just vanilla. Okay, but it's the base, and then you can put a nice chocolate.
You just can't go wrong. That's at least with ice cream, that's the original space. And you can't go wrong with that. It is just, it works every time.
I like the way that you cleaned that up.
Think about it. You go to McDonald's, well, they do offer chocolate. So chocolate's good too. And the swirl. So it's them basic ones. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, basic. And so that's it. That's what we got. That's what we work with. I'm sticking to it.
All right. I like the way that you cleaned that up, because I was really leary of that answer initially.
You're a connoisseur of sweets, though.
Yeah.
But chocolate chip cookie, your home space.
Oh, that is amazing. That is heavenly. That is heavenly. Well, listen, again, Andrea, thank you so much. I appreciate your time greatly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.